Nothing beats a stroll through Packer country. Hi, I'm Troy McClure. You might remember me from such other internet radio talk shows as Man vs. Nature, The Road to Victory, and Firecrackers, The Silent Killer. Welcome to the Green Bay Packer podcast. Alongside me is my co-host, Dante Hicks. How you doing today, Dante?
Howdy ho. How are you today? I'm sitting here enjoying a nice bunch of cheese.
Yes, it is a lovely time of year for cheese around these parts. Today, we are going to talk about our love affair with Aaron Rodgers, the greatest quarterback to ever quarterback in the National Football League.
No. We can't handle this anymore. It's April Fool's Day, so we figured we'd give you a nice April Fool's Day joke. Welcome to the Purple People podcast. Starting this show, we're going to be numbering the episodes. This is episode number 44. We're calling it April Fool's Day.
Yeah.
I'm Adam Carlson. With me here is Kyle West.
What's up, everyone? It was fun being on the other side of the actual intro for a change.
A little bit of a new position for you.
Yeah.
So this show, I'm going to be talking about some of the players that I like in the middle of the draft. Rounds 3 to 5-ish, maybe some second rounders. Just guys that haven't been talked about a lot lately. I've got some quick hits for us, and I'm thinking Kyle might have something.
I'm going to be talking about stuff, and
I
think the stuff that we usually talk about at the beginning of the show is our social media question of the week. And
True.
Yes, we thank everyone for submitting those to us. You can do so on Facebook.com/PurplePeoplePodcast or on Twitter @PurplePeoplePod. Today's question comes from Andrew O'Donnell, who was on last week's show. He wanted to know, how can Christian Ponder win over the naysayers next season? What do you think, Adam?
To be 100% positive, I don't think there's anything he can do right now to make the fans accept him. I think that no matter what, and you said this during the pre-show when we were talking, that no matter what, this is Adrian's team, and Ponder will always be second fiddle. You'll never hear Ponder talked about like he's Drew Brees or anything like that, even if he does reach that level, because this will always be Adrian's team.
Exactly. And if there was the one thing that I think if you want to point to that will help quiet the naysayers a bit, that's going to be people want to see him throw the deep ball. That's the knock on him, even though you can look at the post that we put on Facebook of some of his highlights. He does, but people want to see more of the deep pass, and I think that has more to do with the personnel around him than lack of ability would be the reason why you haven't seen that.
I think it's less to do with the personnel than it is to do with the scheme.
Yeah.
The system that the Vikings have isn't designed to be taking long shots down the field and be hitting a streaking wide receiver every other play. This is a West Coast offense. This is a dink and dime offense. You pick up a first down, you move the chains. You pick up the first down, you move the chains. This offense is designed to win the field battle war, the field position war. It's not designed to be a high-scoring offense to just score and get off the field, because they don't have the personnel for that, even though it's not part of the system.
And like you said, our offense wears a number 28 on his back, and that's the way it should be until he retires many, many years from now.
That's true. And while we're on this topic, I think that something interesting to talk about that we've already talked about a little bit is the future of Toby Gerhart. Because I think that's something that we should really pay attention to, because he could be moved before draft day for draft picks, because the likelihood of him signing back is pretty low.
I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're going to stick with him for the remainder of this season, and then I think they'll let him test free agency and kind of, if he so chooses to, which I think he probably will, kind of let him pick his next destination. And I'm going to say that because Toby has been a pretty big team player when it comes to what his role has been. No complaints, no drama from him. And I think they're kind of going to pay him a little bit of respects and kind of let him choose his destination instead of maybe trading him someplace that he doesn't really want to be. And I honestly don't think there's much of a market for Toby Gerhart. I don't think any other team is going to be giving up a high enough draft pick to make it worthwhile to ship him out.
I think you could. I think you could get upwards of a third to a fourth for him.
Well, if there'd be anyone that would do that, it'd be the 49ers.
It's true.
Yeah,
But let's go into talking about what we came here to talk about, and that's the draft.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I made a list of 6 players that I really like in those mid-rounds, so let's take a minute and talk about those. Now, these are guys you haven't heard a ton about, unless you are a draft junkie like me and not Kyle. But I'm going to say a name, you tell me if you've heard of him, okay?
Okay.
All right, Marcus Wheaton.
Yeah, he makes really good Wheaties.
He's a small wide receiver, 5'11", 189 pounds out of Oregon State. He's a small guy, but he's really fast. I mean, he could provide a speedy outside option that could complement Greg Jennings very well. He's got good hands, and he's a very good route runner. He could be a really good option in the second or third round.
Sounds a bit like the skill set Jarius Wright brings to the team, so I would keep that in mind.
Well, what you got to remember is Marcus Wheaton doesn't play the slot. You got to think about him more like Carolina's Steve Smith.
Oh, okay. Well, that'd be an intriguing prospect for the team for sure.
All right, up next is a guy that a lot of experts disagree on, but I like him just for his sheer talent, and that's Rick Rogers. Are you familiar with that name?
Nope. What position?
He's a wide receiver from Tennessee Tech. He's 6'3", he's 217. He's got character concerns, and a lot of people are worried about his attitude. Mm-hmm. And if they weren't those concerns, he'd be a lot higher draft pick. He's a very impressive physical specimen. His numbers are actually a lot better than Hopkins at the combine. And he actually could develop into a legitimate number 1 receiver in the NFL, I believe. And he's an option in rounds 2 or 3.
Well, we got a good coaching staff and a good locker room. So I feel like if they were to take a chance on a player with a bit of character concerns, they could, potentially we could handle someone like that on the team.
Like Rick?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like Derek, but with kind of an apostrophe. It's weird. Up next, we have wide receiver Ryan Swope.
You got a lot of receivers on your list here, Adam.
Well, I listed all the wide receivers together.
Oh, okay.
Because I figure it's going to be like last year where the Vikings will take a wide receiver earlier on, then in the third or later on they'll take another.
Okay.
And are you familiar with Ryan Swope?
I don't watch a lot of college football, so no, I am not.
6 foot, 205 pounds out of Texas A&M. Now, this cat, if you've never seen his YouTube video of his trick catches, you are really missing out. He has some of the softest hands I've ever seen, and he's speedy enough to get separation on the outside. He's a third-round value on most draft pages, but I would not be surprised to see him go earlier than that.
Nice. Sounds like an interesting prospect.
Now, the next guy I'm going to talk about is a fail-safe guy, because if the Vikings fail to get that middle linebacker they're looking for earlier in the draft, whether they're looking at Minter or Teo or whoever, they could always look back in the second round at a guy like John Bostic from Florida. He's 6'1", he's 245. I really like him. He seems to have all the skills you need to be a starting caliber middle linebacker in the NFL. He doesn't have great speed, but he's good enough in coverage to where he can still be an every down linebacker.
Nice.
Okay, up next, this one. I apologize to him and his mother, but it's cornerback Bleedy Wreh-Wilson. BLIDI-WREH-Wilson.
You were admirable on the pronunciation of that one. You did better than I would have.
I'm going to go with Bleedy, because I don't like Bleedy. It makes it sound like he's hurt or something.
You just got out of a zombie attack.
Exactly. But he's 6'1", 195 pounds from Connecticut. He's a good cornerback for his zone scheme, and he fit really well in the Vikings. He played against really tough competition at the college level. He's currently projected to be a third-round pick, but he's another one of those that's really on the rise right now. So he might have to be a second-rounder. But he's a guy that I think that every Vikings fan should be paying attention to.
I will say that I do expect the Vikings to address the corner in the draft, and I believe right around the third round would be the time that I think they're going to look to do that.
Well, if that's around the area they're looking for, and Wreh-Wilson is off the board, they might look at San Diego State's Leon McFadden. He's 5'10", he's 193 pounds. He's a smaller corner. He's not great in press coverage, but he's not going to be asked to do that a lot for the Vikings. He'll work well in a cover two for that reason. The problem is that he's really aggressive, but the Vikings could use that kind of hard-nosed player with the safeties they have. They don't have to worry as much about getting beat. He's mocked to be a third or a fourth round pick.
I like the thing that you said that stuck out to me about him is I'm a big fan of players that bring that aggression to the defense, and that's something that we kind of lost over the last couple of years, and we're starting to gain back with Harrison Smith out there. So getting players willing to that make hard hits is something that I'm excited to see returning to Minnesota.
And last, but not least on my list, is the one I just added. It's Kyle West's favorite player in the draft, by the way.
Oh, really?
Leon Sandcastle.
Yeah, I'd love Leon Sandcastle to come to Minnesota, although I worry about his toe.
I have read that he has planned to go number 1 overall to the Chiefs, so he may not be available when the Vikings pick.
I don't know, man. Maybe Spielman could trade up to get Leon on the team.
I love that Leon Sandcastle thing. It just makes me laugh so much.
I was just watching. It's funny that you bring that up. I was just watching highlights of Dion playing baseball just the other day on YouTube.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to move into the quick hits now, and we're going to talk about the Vikings signing a linebacker during the last week.
Yeah.
They brought back Marvin Mitchell. He signed back at the league minimum. He's an excellent special teams player. He started one game last year. He looked pretty impressive. I think this is a great signing for the Vikings. It doesn't hurt their salary cap at all. They bring in a guy familiar with the system, started a game, excellent on special teams. I love this pickup.
Me too. It's a good value pick. Like you said, he came in dirt cheap, and he's a guy that you can bring in. He's got a little bit of the system underneath his belt at this point, and he's going to be a body. He's going to be competition. And they're at the point where you got to start bringing in those 90 whatever odd players that you bring into training camp, and that's what this signing is.
Excuse me. Now, speaking of that, there was a player who signed a deal that was very, very low with no guaranteed money to the Patriots, and that was wide receiver Michael Jenkins. Now, he took a league minimum deal to go sign with them, no guaranteed money. I was pretty sure the Vikings would be able to offer him a similar offer just to bring him into camp and compete, but they didn't. And to me, I thought it would have been a great idea to have him in there as a body, as a mentor. Even if he didn't end up making the final roster, I would have loved to have him on the roster right now.
Well, I'm going to read into it a little bit different than what you did. I'm going to look at it from Molasses Mike Jenkins' perspective. And which team probably gives him a better shot for one season to get and to win a Super Bowl? That's probably the New England Patriots with Tom Brady. Not trying to knock the Vikings, but I'm just kind of perspective here. I think that might be why he would be willing to take less money to go play for another team, even knowing that he might not even really get a chance to play or contribute. He wants that ring. He wants that Super Bowl ring before he retires. And you see a lot of players kind of doing that just right at the tail end of their career, trying to sign a one-year deal with whatever team they think they can get that ring with. And I think that's what Mike Jenkins did.
I don't blame him if that's the case, but I will miss him in Minnesota. He was one of those guys that I always relied on. That when I saw him on the field, I knew he was running his routes. I knew he was blocking. I knew he could make catches. He might not have had the top speed. He might have lingering injury issues, but he's one of those guys that I'm going to be sad to see on another team.
And you know what? Knowing Bill Belichick, there's no guarantees that Jenkins even makes their final roster past the preseason. He can end up he could end up being cut from that team and back to Minnesota. I mean, that's a long shot. You never know how those things are going to work out.
Very true.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's the news that the internet has been buzzing about for the last week, and that is the confirmation that the Minnesota Vikings will be getting new uniforms and helmets
Woo!
for next season.
I'm excited.
They're going to be unveiled on draft day. Meanwhile, the Vikings will be releasing hints as to their appearance each week until the unveiling.
Which I think it's cool the way they're doing it. I mean, it's a hell of a lot better than the Miami Dolphins, who just kind of accidentally leak a logo with a player over Twitter, and they're like, "Oh, by the way, we changed our logo." So at least the Vikings front office clearly had like a plan in place for quite a while now of how they're going to unveil this. I'm not doing any of the stuff on their website. Like, I know as soon as the final design gets released, like, it'll be all over Facebook and Twitter. So,
I just like to thank the guys at Purple Jesus Diaries because they are doing it and they are sharing it. And when I get the pictures, I will share them with you guys on our Facebook page as well.
Mm-hmm. Let's spend a little more couple minutes here talking about this one, Adam. What do you think exactly they're gonna do with the jerseys? Do you think it's gonna be more of a throwback to the old Purple People Eaters days, or do you think they're gonna go more modern, kind of like what the Seahawks did with
Well,
their?
I'm going to divide your question up into two pieces.
Okay.
And I'm going to ask you for your opinion after I state mine.
Okay.
Now, the first part of your question, I think, is what do you want the new Vikings jerseys to look like?
Yeah.
Now, for me, I love the retro jerseys.
Mm-hmm.
I really do. But I'd like to see a darker purple. I love the dark purple. I would love for the helmet face mask to be black and not white.
Yeah.
I think that would look pretty BA. I'm a big fan of the stripes on the arms. I mean, I understand that it can't be a complete throwback and you need some hip, new, cool design because that's what kids like and that's what sells jerseys, not plain Jane stuff. But not that there's anything wrong with Jane. She's pretty hot. But that's a sidetrack issue. Anyway, to me, I prefer simplicity. I prefer a throwback to the past, dark colors. That's what I want to see.
I'm an old school kind of Vikings fan too, and I'm not that big of a fan of the current jersey designs. In particular, our white alternatives I think are horrible, and I will be really pleased to see whatever update they do to those. I might would love to see them go back to, like you said, the older, darker purple of like the Fran Tarkenton era Vikings. Yeah. I don't necessarily think they're going to do that, but I would like to see more of that old school design infused with whatever direction they go.
Now, if you've been following the hints along on Facebook, you'll see that I believe it was Chad Greenway, linebacker, that got a good look at the jerseys, and he said that he felt it was a good throwback yet something modern. So I'm expecting something in the middle there.
Mm-hmm. I seen that too. I seen the video where Jared Allen had a look at the helmet, and that was close to the same response that he had with it too.
I'm not sure if his response was genuine or sarcastic, though. You never know with Jared.
Yeah, I think it was genuine with him.
But one thing we know for sure is that Chris Kluwe has not seen the new uniforms or the helmets yet. Either that or he signed something that swore him to secrecy because he either knows nothing or he ain't saying nothing.
He's out in California right now. I really don't think he cares about the Vikings jerseys. Anyway, what was the
and on a side note, who knows if he'll even be wearing one next year?
Yeah. What was the next part of the question here? I already forgot.
What will the jerseys? What do we think the jerseys will actually look like?
Yeah. What they'll actually look like is I'm thinking there's gonna be. I think they're gonna darken the color down to kind of be that darker shade of purple, like what we were talking about. But I'm expecting it to have more aggressive. pointed like yellow
Tiger stripes.
like yellow stripes that come down to like more aggressive points, possibly
Right.
maybe down the front of the jersey a little bit. Uh, I don't know. It's tough to say.
See, I'm picturing stripes down the sides,
Uh-huh.
a stripe down the shoulder, and a pointy stripe down the pants. That's what I'm picturing.
Do you think they're gonna go? I remember like the '98 era jerseys where they had the actual Norseman on the sleeves. With them, updating to the new style Norseman logo, do you think maybe we'll see that return on the sleeve?
I would really like that.
I would too, because I really liked that '98 style jersey that the Vikings had, and kind of an updated version of that would be pretty badass.
I will say one thing though. I do not want them to mess with the helmet too bad.
Neither do
To
I.
me, that helmet is just a symbol. And to me, it's just completely defines what the Vikings are. If they make the purple a little darker, that's cool. If they make the face mask black, that's awesome. If they update it to look like the new horns on the new logo, that's great.
hmm I'm
But
sure.
aside from that, I don't want to see the big Viking head on the side. I don't want to see the V logo. I don't want to see that. I want the horn.
I can. The V logo will not be on the side of the helmet, and the Norseman logo I don't think will be on the side of the helmet. That the Vikings horn is tradition that you don't mess with, and yeah, they'll update it to make it be the more kind of 3D aggressive look to it. My concern is that some of the helmets in the NFL are doing this thing where the logos wrap all the way around to the backside and meet in the side of the helmet, and I'm hoping they don't do something silly like that with the horn.
What, make the horns touch?
Yeah.
Why? 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 Why would
Well,
they do that?
there's other helmets. I think what is it? The Seahawks logo wraps all the way around and back and does that. And there's a couple more I can't think of off the top of my head,
I
but
really hope that doesn't happen.
I don't think they'll do that either, but you never know.
So that's something to look forward to each week. Make sure you're checking the Facebook page because I will be sharing the pictures, the hints, all that kind of stuff.
hmm
It'll be a lot of fun.
I'm really looking forward to it. I'm planning on buying a new Adrian Peterson jersey for whatever the new jerseys look like. Like I'm gonna get an Adrian one.
I plan on buying a jersey when the other jerseys go on clearance because I am a cheap jerk. That's me. So if you're cheap like me, that might be a good way to go for it.
It'd be buying up all the old Nike ones, right?
Even the old Reebok ones, man. I ain't picky. I don't own a Nike one yet. I have all Reebok.
The Nike ones are really nice. I've got I've got a Kyle Rudolph and I've got a Chris Kluwe in the Nike jerseys, and I like them quite a bit. They fit really nice.
Now, a guy that might be wearing a Vikings jersey next year for all the speculation we've been hearing
Mhm.
is USC wide receiver Robert Woods.
Mhm.
The Vikings have met with him. They really love his character. They love his talent. He's a guy that we could see the Vikings take with one of their first rounders, or if they trade back into the second, he could be one of them.
Mhm. I'd be fine with that. Like I said, I'm confident that they're going to be going receiver early, and whoever they put their faith behind is who, likewise, what I will be doing for this team.
As of right now, my money is on Teo and Woods.
Mm.
Now, if they can get both those are players who were both projected to be top 5 picks going into last year. So we know these guys have talent and that they've produced at high levels throughout their careers. These are guys that could come in and help the team immediately. I would be very happy with that draft.
That would be huge for this team to get players of that caliber to come in the first round, because it just signals the direction that this team is going. And hey, we're serious about being a playoff team. Like we don't think that's a fluke. We are competing. We're competing now, and we're doing it with younger players, not older players that give us a shrinking closing window.
Very true.
Yeah.
A player whose window is closing but I would still love to see back in Vikings purple is Antoine Winfield. Now, the Redskins were in the running to sign him, but they just signed back cornerback D'Angelo Hall. So the odds that they're going to pursue Winfield as aggressively as they were have decreased a lot.
Mm-hmm. There's a chance, guys, that it might be a slim one. Antoine might just, hey, I've had a good NFL career. You know what? I'm gonna retire. I could see that happening, but I do think there is a chance that he'll realize there's not many teams out there really that I want to play for, and Frazier was kind enough to call me on the phone and talk to me after this went down, and the team, I understand what happened business-wise. The team wants me back, so I'm going to go ahead and do it and come back to the team. It could happen.
I'd love to see it happen because he is one of my favorite players on the Vikings team.
Me,
I wear his jersey proudly on game days.
he's one of those guys that so desperately after it happened, you realize that you just wanted to see him retire a Minnesota Viking
Yes.
and get that big fond farewell from the team, where you get to give him a big round of applause on whatever his final game is as a Viking, and he gets to go out with all the fanfare that he deserves from this team, and not just suddenly and shockingly let go the way he was. Like, that's not the way Winfield should be going out.
I agree totally.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to keep up to date on all the quick hits, make sure that you are subscribed to us on Twitter and Facebook because we post on there often. We love to talk to fans like you and you over there and you in the corner.
But not
all you guys.
Not you in the Packers jersey. We don't like you.
I'm sure he's all right. I think. I don't know. Trying to be equal opportunity anyway. But do you have anything else you'd like to add this week, Kyle?
No, I don't. I just want to thank everyone for listening to us and subscribing and talking to us and all that other good stuff.
Yes, thank you for listening, everyone, and remember, stay classy, Minnesota.